So the last race in SRX the game went so well. Not only did I actually go out and buy the game, but we're gonna do this again. So once again, this is SRX the game. We're gonna do 100% race, but I'm gonna edit out the boring parts because you guys have better things to do than watch me drive around in circles for 45 minutes. And we're gonna go to Walnut Creek this time, which is kind of like the off-brand version of Myrtle Beach or Motoplex Speedway out in Vernon, British Columbia. There's a lot of tracks around North America that are shaped like this. I'm going to make a few changes compared to last race. Instead of the AI skill range being very wide and us dealing with a ton of different lap cars, I'm going to set it to normal so we have a bit more AI cars that mix it up with us at the front. And that's one of the positives of this engine. I know people like to rip on the NASCAR Heat games and any old game made by Monster, but they offer a really good physics sandbox with a lot of different variables you can tweak to get the AI product just right. I'm actually running mostly the same setup I ran for the last race I uploaded at Honeysuckle Grove, I believe it was called. All I did was increase the springs, and I think I increased the track bar a bit, but it's virtually the same setup. The reason I increased the springs actually has nothing to do with the car handling, but you'll notice when playing this game, the cars hit very violent bumps, and it feels like you're driving on like a wavy surface. It only affects some tracks. So for example, Honeysuckle Grove I didn't really have a problem with, but here it feels like every couple of feet you just hit these big ripples in the concrete. You can actually see it there on the backstretch just a bit, and you have to really work in the setup to dial that out. That's not realistic. I don't know what's going on there. I think it's something to do with the track mesh, and it just slipped in and they just never ended up fixing it. But it's a very weird symptom that affects a lot of different tracks in this game, and it's something that I really wish the QA team would have caught and just begged the track geometry guys to dial out, because it's weird to deal with. Anyway, I ran a 16 flat there, and that'll hit the par time in practice, so we're going to skip ahead to qualifying, and I get murdered in qualifying. Both the Heat games as well as just stuff created by Monster, whether it be the Tony Stewart games or SRX or the NASCAR Heat titles, when you have the AI cranked up to 105%, they absolutely obliterate you in qualifying. So the times are just completely unattainable. I think the pole here is like a 15.6, which there's nothing I can do to pick up 4/10ths, even running a perfect line. But thankfully during the race, the AI are completely on pace with the player. There's none of the really crazy bullshit you see in a lot of modern sims where the AI just take completely different lines or very obviously display signs that they're gripped up in the corners. So I'm going to roll off 11th, and this race is actually quite boring. I think we had one caution flag across the entire race, so I'm going to skip ahead to lap 73. So we got 30 to go here. I'm running in third place, running basically in my own zip code, slowly chasing down the leaders who are getting stuck in lap traffic ahead of me. The right rear tire is at 61% life and quickly dropping, which is actually really fun in this game. I think I mentioned in my last video that on fresh tires, the front tires have just a bit too much authority over the direction of the car. You're just hitting a bit too high of speeds through the center of the corner. Once the tires really wear in and you're in the final third of a race with really worn tires, the car drives phenomenal and is super realistic and just awesome. So I'm having so much fun here, just turning laps, trying to chase down the leaders. I don't particularly know the individual names of the AI drivers because they're all fantasy drivers just made by the devs. This isn't like a Cars Tour DLC or anything like that. It really is just fake cars. But each driver has their own individual skill rating because that's just a feature of this engine. So in most of these offline races I do on SRX the game, I'll be chasing down a number 4 Ilmore car, because that seems to be the highest rated out of all the fictional drivers in this series, and I believe he's leading right now. And I believe the black and orange car tailing him about 2 cars in front of us is sitting in second place. Again, I'm glad I changed the AI skill spread to normal instead of large, because the lap cars, there haven't been as many of them this race, and even when you come up on a lap car, they're generally running about the same pace as you are, as opposed to at Honeysuckle Grove, where it just seemed like wave after wave of guys who were pretty blatantly off pace. So looks I'm going to be able to use the AI cars as rolling picks here. The 4 car is going to get held up by this red and black car, and that'll put me right in the hunt here to try and get myself into a higher position. But he's making quick work of that 0-3 car with 24 to go. Not really sure where to go here, but I'll duck it down to the inside, and that's the lead. So the number 34 car, the black and orange car, as well as the 4 Ilmore car, those are the two guys that'll be having to hold off here. And we do have clean air in front of us, so once they get out of this pack, this should be a really good race. Already that 34 car's got on our bumper. This setup I found was pretty good. It's a bit loose though as the tires wore on. I didn't record a race here, but I did another 100% race here a couple nights ago. And I feel like the setup I ran then was better. Looks like the 34 is going to get around me here. Although I'm going to chop the 4 car. Don't do that in real life, they'll dump you. But the AI are pretty precise at how close they can run to you without wrecking in this game, so I do take advantage of it sometimes. Trap the 34 car behind a lap car, and we're going to retake the lead here. That's going to allow the 4 car to get through. 20 to go, and we're catching another gaggle of lap cars. Now he's going to beat me to the inside of the corner. Alright, you got to deal with the lap cars now, that's fine. He's going to try and go high. That's not going to be the right call. I'm going to sneak by on the inside. Dive bomb the shit out of these guys. Don't do that either. Doesn't always work. I've learned that the hard way. Launched off a guy at 140. But I'm not losing the AI, and that's what makes the offline portion of this game so great. Definitely nice to get back into this after playing Hot Wheels Unleashed for the past few days. I'm still pretty torn on the game. Last night I finished up the final few races and got 100% game completion. And it definitely is the best Hot Wheels game to come along in 20 years since Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Like, the overall quality and just polish of the game is leaps and bounds ahead of any other previous Hot Wheels title we had either on the GameCube or the Xbox 360. But as I said in my extremely divisive review, there's just a lot of design ideas that just aren't very well thought out. Like, buying cars in the game outright sucks because you have to rely heavily on the loot box feature, and when there's not a lot of cars in the game to begin with, you get so many duplicates, it's just stupid. So it's just constantly buying the same taxi cab car, the same Dodge Ram truck, and then immediately going into your garage and selling it. You know, like, it's just pointless. And then again, the custom track feature is great. Like, the track editor is amazing. People are going to do crazy shit in it, but there's no database to actually, like, manually search for the highest rated tracks or, like, search for your buddy's tracks. So instead, you have to go into, like, time trial mode, hit, you know, sort by user created tracks, and it just gives you, like, a random assortment of 10. And some of those 10 might, like, literally be, like, a kid's first track that's just a straight line. Or, like, 100,000 loop-de-loops in a row because, you know, some kid was, like, 10 years old just fucking around with it. Instead of, like, being able to search, like, no, I want someone's good shit that they made. So just, like, little design decisions here and there are just, like, you know, it could have been even better. That's what's really disappointing me about it. Like, I've literally done races online where someone voted for a user-created track, and it was called Coin Farm. And the race was over in 3 seconds because it was, like, the smallest track you could possibly make in the track editor. It was just stupid. Another thing that's pretty stupid are just the sheer volume of shills that have arrived in my comment section. Now, it's not really necessary that I go into a whole bunch of detail on this, but I did work in the video game industry for 4 years. I know far more than I'm letting on. I just very obviously can't say some stuff publicly, right? When a YouTube account has no avatar, no banner image, it says, this channel has no activity, it's not subscribed to anyone, it doesn't have any uploads, or the uploads it does have are a 7-second clip of a dog laying on the floor, and that's it. That's the only thing that's ever been uploaded on that account. And these suspicious accounts attack you for daring to criticize a video game. They tell people not to watch your video. They instruct people to go to read the IGN review, when every gamer knows that IGN has generally been unreliable for upwards of 10 years. You're not talking to a real person, you're talking to an astroturfer. That being said, there were just some angsty kids mixed in there who were upset that someone criticized their favorite Hot Wheels game, but there were an awful lot of suspicious looking accounts, and I'm not stupid. I worked in this industry. I know how this works. So with 5 to go, we've got the 4 of Robo Harry Nelson all over our back bumper. And we also have 47% wear on the right rear tire. So this is interesting, and I'm just parking it on the bottom because it seems like if the AI line code hasn't changed from the original NASCAR Heat games, the way the AI line has been coded in this game is that the developer simply has to run a hot lap, and then the hot lap line is interpreted by the game as the AI line, and it automatically adds boundaries to the left and to the right of that AI line, which is usually about 2.5 to 3 cars wide. So as a result, I don't actually think he knows how to run the very, very bottom and play defense like I do, or find a way around me to poke his nose under me. He physically can't do that, and you'll see that on the straightaway here. I'm the only one running super, super low. He just doesn't know how to do that. So with 1 to go here, even though my tires are melting off the car, it seems like I can just park it on the bottom and hold it off. So we'll do that for 2 more corners and hope we can get a win out of it. He's going to come to my outside. This is going to get cheeky. Wow, he's actually kind of there. That got interesting for a second. Can't believe I held on to that. Wow. That ended up being a good little race. It's a shame that he really didn't try to get around me on the outside until 1 to go, because I think he would have had me regardless. But that was a pretty awesome finish, all things considered. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I think this game's like 40-some bucks on Steam. I don't recommend buying it if you're not into short track racing, but it provides some pretty interesting offline experiences, that's for sure.